What's going on, guys? My name is Zonky the Donkey. I am the newest staff member over at DFSArmy.com, and today we're introducing the newest tool for the NFL called the Research Lab. The Research Lab takes all of the data the DFS Army already has and is providing to you and transforms it, manipulates it, and visualizes it in unique ways to help you draw conclusions more quickly for your picks. To access the Research Lab, you go to DFSArmy.com, hover over the NFL tab, and over here at the top right, you hit the Research Lab button, and it will bring you to this page here. Now, the Research Lab is powered by a software program called Power BI, which is a really great data visualization tool. And we're going to be going through a lot of the steps here on this video that'll help you utilize it the proper way to get the most out of it. Now, what makes the Research Lab so unique? There's nothing else like this on the market right now, and that everything in the Research Lab can be interacted with, whether it be charts, filters, games, positions, weeks, seasons. You can pull all of that data from the Research Lab. Now, there's 4 main pages to it, and this covers everything right now from receiving, rushing, fantasy scoring trends, and defenses to target. Now, to navigate through these pages, you can open up the navigation bar at the top and pick your pages, or you can alternatively flip through the down arrows at the bottom or the left and right arrows here at the bottom, or click directly on the 1 of 6 and go to other pages. So here's the first page of the Research Lab. It's the receiver targeting and snaps page, which is going to show us some really good detail about how many targets we're getting, how many catches we're getting on each player, and what their salary is for each week. There's also a line chart on the right that's going to show your top 3 receivers that will update as you make selections, and same thing with your percentage of snaps played. If you pick players specifically, for example, if I pick Allen Robinson, the chart will update. I can also control and hold left click to pick up to 3 people, and then I can compare their stats side by side. So this at the top right is targets, the bottom right is the snaps, and there's a good selection of stats here in the middle, on this table that we can look at. Now, the one thing to note is that there's this one field called percentage of targets. Now, if we do not have a team selected in this filter that I'm hovering my mouse cursor over, it's going to show you the trend, or it's going to show you the percentage of targets you're getting for the NFL. But for example, if I want to see, well, what percentage of targets is Allen Robinson getting for his team, I can pick Chicago. And then I can see Allen Robinson gets just under 30% of the targets for his team. Now, if I wanted to more hyper-focus that among wide receivers, if I pick wide receivers, this is going to show me among all the wideouts on his team, he's getting 46% of that among just that position, but among his whole team, it's 28%. And once again, I can click and hold control and pick multiple people and compare people side by side to see how their stats are. Now, we can pick from any of these filters here at the top if I want to focus on home or away. If we had a bigger sample size, that may mean something, but I can search for individual players if I've got someone I want to do research on. If I just wanted to show maybe the past 3 weeks 3, 4, and 5, that's actually going to update the trend line as well, to where how are you playing for me lately may mean a lot more than how they've been playing from weeks 1 and 2. So play with all these filters as much as you want. You can do a ton of analysis on here, really get down into some potential insights that maybe mean the difference between you banking one of these big GPPs or not. So now that we've talked about receivers, let's go to one of the next pages into rushing analysis. This is a very similar concept to the receivers analysis, except for it's going to mostly focus on just who's rushing. So by default, this is going to have running backs on here towards the top, because obviously they're going to get the most rushing attempts. Same concepts apply. Up here at the top right, where this is ranking people by their sum of rushing attempts by each week. And at the bottom right, we've got their percentage of snaps played. So very similar to the percentage of targets, we have this percentage of rush attempts field, which right now means this is their share of rushes throughout the whole league. But if I wanted to see how Josh Jacobs is doing for the Raiders, I can go pick their team here and see that he is getting about 3/4 of his team's rushes. Now, if I wanted to compare more people side by side, I can pick up to 3, just like with the receivers. So let's say if I wanted to look at a few players that were in similar salary buckets, I can rank people by their DK or DraftKings or FanDuel salary, and I can pick them. Actually, I'm going to rank this. Let me pick running backs first, because that's actually going to make this make a lot more sense. And then I can rank them by their salary, and I can say, hey, let's pick Christian McCaffrey. And if I want to compare him against two other people, I can hold control on my keyboard. Let's select Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. And now we see these charts update from week to week. Now, obviously, since Christian McCaffrey hasn't played since week 2, you see he doesn't have any data points since. So that's something to keep in mind, that if there isn't any data for that week, there's just not going to be one of those dots there. It's not going to have a label for it. Also, a reminder, anytime if you're confused how any of this works, we have this open help tab, which is going to open up a couple little bullet points that's going to help guide you through this along the way. Additionally, if you would rather have this be full screen, there's also this button here at the bottom right where you can open in full screen mode, and that's actually going to make this bit more in your face, no distractions at all. So let's go ahead and head over to the next section, which just covers fantasy points scoring. Now, this is basically going to show the number of DraftKings or FanDuel points someone has been scoring week to week. And once again, we can compare up to 3 different players. There's actually some really cool things we can do here when it comes to seeing how someone is scoring on average or their median, which is kind of the value that falls in the middle. If there's an even number of points, so for example, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is the number of points they scored for each week, it would be the average between 2 and 3, since those are the 2 middle points. Now, let's say we want to look for tight ends to focus on. So when we pick tight ends here, we can just click that button, and this is by default. This chart's going to show the top 3 tight ends in the league. And if I want to pick DraftKings points, I can do that. If I want to switch over to FanDuel, you'll see all the points adjust accordingly. So same thing as before, exact same concepts. If I want to see how people are trending on their scoring from week to week, this is going to correlate somewhat with their rushing or receiving, but this just kind of puts the bottom line number. What are they producing for me lately? So if I wanted to produce or compare Travis Kelce to, say, Jimmy Graham and George Kittle, I can hold control on my keyboard and left click the 3 of them and see how they're doing. Now, if there's some other options we can do here. We can also adjust, we can search for a player. So if I wanted to search for, type in Kelce, enter, I can obviously just focus on him, and that way that basically gets rid of all the other noise. I just want to see how he's been doing week to week. Now I can go back in here, unselect him, and it goes back to default. Same thing for teams. I can pick any team in the league, see how Dallas is doing. I can flip between different positions. If Dallas has a good favorable matchup, I know they're probably going to score a lot of points. I can see how they're doing in each of these positions and compare apples to apples how people are doing. Now let's talk about the last page of this report, the points conceded page. This is going to show you defenses you want to be targeting at certain positions. This is going to follow the same train of thought. I'm going to keep saying that. It's going to follow the same train of thought as these other pages, where I can pick up to 3 teams and show apples to apples how they are doing against not against each other, but just how they're doing. If I want to see, it looks like in pink here, that's Philadelphia. Looks like they've been steadily allowing more points each week. Now, some other cool things I can do with this, I can flip between DraftKings or FanDuel points, and that's going to update. And what this table exactly is showing you is by team. It's showing you by position how many points they have allowed that position. Now, some teams may have had a bye week. Week 5 was the first week that happened. So if I was curious about that, I can push this plus sign next to them and see how many games they've played. So Atlanta's played 5. I think if we scroll down here, New England has only played 4 teams, but still proportionally we can see they've only given up 354 compared to the monstrous 643 DraftKings points that Atlanta has given up. Now, if I want to make this a little more easy to digest, I can pick a specific position. Wideouts is, the position we draft the most of. So if I want to focus on them, I can do that and rank them from top to bottom, bottom to top, any way I want it. This is going to show you the top 3 by default. And I can pick any 3 teams I want to compare. It doesn't have to be 3. Sometimes it can just be 2. It can just be 1. But if you're you're looking for those razor thin edges, it's good to compare them side by side. Now, one of the last really cool things that we can do with the research lab, and you can do this on the other pages too, you can interact with these data points in different ways. So if I want to say, hey, on week 3 here, here's the number of points they have scored from week to week. If I right click here and hover over drill through, I want to drill through and see what the underlying data is here. Click on that drill through data, I can see, so for week 3 in the 2020 season, I can see the points that were allowed by each of those teams for DraftKings, FanDuel, how many targets they got, etc. Now, this isn't going to be, this isn't going to be perfect in terms of every single stat being on here. We are looking at adding some more stuff in this in the future, but that's just kind of an example of if you want to see the line item data, it's there. So if we hop back to a couple other pages, we can do that same drill through feature on almost anything here. I can right click on the average points for Josh Allen, hover over drill through, and it's going to show me his points for all weeks he has played and the details for them. So this has been, a relatively high level overview of the research lab. Now, this is absolutely a work in progress. We are making updates to this every couple of days. We want your feedback on this. So if you're in the Slack and you see me, Zonky the Donkey, in the chat, at me in any channel and say, hey, this would be really cool if we could do X or Y or whatever it may be, and we're going to take it into consideration. This is the same data we've been using in the research station, so pretty much anything is possible here, and our whole goal is to make you to be able to jump to your conclusions for your picks more quickly and to look for those thin edges that are going to give you the upside that you're looking for to, jump from in the middle of the pack to where maybe something where you can finally hit that big score, a big GPP. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is the new research lab at dfsarmy.com.